Hi, this is Dawn. One of the first things that I want to cover is a couple of terms that sometimes throw people in a tizzy and they think they're all mysterious and hard to understand. One of them is owner financing or seller financing. Oh my God, what is that? Even a lot of people who, let's say, have been a real estate agent for a long time have a hard time understanding really what seller financing is. It sounds so, scary and woo-woo and so out there. And I want to show you that it's really not. I want to bring the note business and owner financing together on the same plate for you and show you that dance between property and paper that I like. I see lots of people teaching owner financing and seller financing techniques as a way of buying and selling property. And I see people teaching about the note business and what the note business is. Few people bring these together. Once you understand these steps, the steps to this dance I'm talking about, the dance between property and paper, real estate and real estate notes, then you have so much flexibility. You will see so many options that you didn't even think of. It's just amazing. So, okay. So let's take a really simple example, and I apologize for those of you that this is going to be extreme review for some of you. You might want to fast forward or whatever, but what I want to do is take someone who knows absolutely nothing and show them really how simple all of this is, okay? So we're going to start super basic with a little single family house, and we're going to say that this property is worth $100,000, or it's being listed for $100,000 by the seller. Okay, and for the purposes of this example, we're going to pretend that the seller owns this property free and clear, meaning they don't have any mortgage against it. They don't owe anything. They either paid cash for it, inherited it, or they paid off the loan a long time ago. Okay, so they have 100% equity. At this point, they've got $100,000 of equity in this property. Okay, now along comes a buyer who goes, I want that. I want to buy that house to live in for my family, and I've been saving, and I have, hopefully they have saved up at least 10% of the down payment. That's a really good, solid, acceptable number in most underwriting circles. Remember when the banks used to ask for 20% though? Okay, so the buyer says, I've been saving my money and I've saved up 10%. What's 10% of 100,000? 10,000. So there's, Mr. Seller, I'd be willing to give you my down payment of $10,000 that I've been saving. But I don't have 100, but I've got 10. But tell you what, I'm going to run over to the bank. This really, let's pretend like it's a really solid and fancy structure that we can all trust and count on. Right? Okay. Okay, so they say, can I get a loan? I need $90,000 more. The bank, within a couple of days, maybe a week at the outside, say, yeah, no problem. Or is it a year or two? I can't remember. But eventually, if the buyer has good enough credit and the property does appraise, and they say, yes, it's worth $100,000 or more in our opinion, we think you're a good risk. So yes, we are going to lend you the money. They make a loan of money. And this is $90,000, so that the buyer can then turn around, take this money, and give it to the seller, who then has their $90,000 from the bank, and they have their $10,000 from the down payment from the buyer, and they're good. They got their $100,000, and the seller's happy. But how do we make the bank happy? They've just lent the buyer $90,000. What are they going to want in return? Well, they're going to ask the buyer to sign a note. They're going to want two things: a note, a promissory note, and a security instrument, which will either be a mortgage or a deed of trust, a trust deed, depending on what state that you're living in. So here's what the bank says: I gave you this, what are you going to do for me? Okay, the buyer then gives the bank, how can we do this? They give them a note, and they give them a security instrument. The house is the security for the loan. The collateral. The bank gets a deed of trust or a mortgage. Okay? So the note, what does the note say? The note says, okay, bank, you loaned me $90,000. You gave me an interest rate of 6%, and you set the term at 30 years, so you're giving me 360 months to pay off this loan, and that gives me a monthly payment of $539.60. Buyer says, I promise to you, promissory note, I promise to pay you $539.60 for the next 360 months, the next 30 years. I promise to pay you back the money that you lent me. And the bank says, that's nice. It's nice that you promise, but if you break your promise and you don't pay us the money, we want a way to get our money back. We want security for our investment. Okay, so if you don't pay us according to the terms of the promissory note, we are going to take your property that you've pledged as collateral for this note. So we all know what that looks like, right? Foreclosure. They just say, you didn't pay, we're taking the property so we can sell it and get as much of our $90,000 back as we can out of it. Okay, so that is, and I'm going to break this right down the middle. That's mostly what we know and are comfortable with in terms of real estate transactions. So what's over here? Owner financing. How does owner financing work? I mean, think about it. We say that the bank is in the lending business. They loan money, which is true. But couldn't we also say that they're in the note business? What did they ask for and what are they holding? They're holding a note. They're receiving payments on the terms of a promissory note. So really, just think of the bank as being in the note business. Yeah, they lent money, but what they're holding is a note and a deed of trust. Okay? Just think about that. Banks are in the note business. Okay. Over here, the buyer says, in this scenario,